recording. So this evening session really is in two parts. One is just a brief chat, not a brief chat. I actually want to go through in detail the assignment, the first submission. I've got it up there. If you can just give me a thumbs up if you can see the problem set 1. Great. So this is quite a significant part of the overall sort of content assessment mark. It's not, I should stop saying that, it's not too difficult. It is what it is. It's an assessment. And for some of you, you might find the assessment fairly easy to get through. For some of you, you might find the assessment more challenging, especially when it comes to using a bit of the Excel. So let me just stay on the Excel side of things. There's a wonderful video that was included in the readings for this week. I've watched it a few times, and I can't explain it to you any better. It is a fantastic little tool in order to be able to do this demand and supply graphs, and also to do the graphs that are needed for the production possibility curve graphs and everything. So the discussion that I had with the class last week is that my expectation is that once you've completed the graphs in Excel, that you copy that and you paste it into your Word document as an image, and you label it clearly, and you put the explanation or the explanation around those results you'll put into your Word document. So that ultimately, once your Word document is complete, you will then PDF that Word document and then submit it as one document. I know the assessment talks about, you have to include your Excel spreadsheet and all of that, but I can tell you it is going to become a bit of a mess, because some is going to download it, others going to upload it, and then you upload only one file, and then I get an email afterwards saying, sorry, sir, sorry, Theo, I uploaded the wrong Excel file, or I didn't upload the Excel file, and now I've already marked your stuff, and I've given you 0 because there's no Excel file attached to it, and you're going to pull your hair out. So if you can, please create your graphs, create your tables in Excel, copy it into a Word document, take that Word document, PDF that Word document, and it's one file that you load. And I think for your own sanity and for my sake, when I do mark them, I'll be able to see one document, I'll be able to work through it without needing 2 screens to work through your document and look at the Excel spreadsheet as well at the same time. So let's have a look at these open book tests. There is 3 of them. There's four of them, and they're all happening, boom, 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 one after the other. And the first one is due next week, the end of next week, which is the following week, Monday. Assessments are always due on the Monday following the week that it says here. So week 3 or session 3, it would be the first Monday of session 1. But let me just double check. Session 3, prices lost test to open book. Let's see when is this due. Due on Monday the 16th. Okay, so it is always due on the following week, Monday. So we have that. So let's go through them very briefly. Open book, problem 1, 3 questions, 40 marks, and it talks about economic perspective analysis, which is for 15 marks. And this is really last week's session where we talked about the forest and the trees. The trees being microeconomics and the forest being macroeconomics. And it sort of, I'm just looking at my other screen on this side where everything is on. But let me actually see if I can't move this. All righty. Okay, at least I'm looking at you and I'm looking at the screen as well. So the forest in the trees that we spoke about last week, which is the difference between microeconomics and macroeconomics, and justifying the classification with economic reasoning, identify the key economic decision makers involved, as well as explaining individual organization behavior practice influencing the decision. As I said last week, economics is all about making decisions. It's about the results of those decisions. And I know this week's lesson is all about supply and demand. And if you go through that more textbook, if you don't have, if you've never encountered economics before, it is quite daunting. It is, if you look at those demand and supply graphs, it is quite daunting. But let me just put your mind at ease. The Moore textbook is very, very good. I've used it for quite a few years, from teaching Bachelor of Arts students in communication about economics to psychology students about economics. So it's not meant to be used by BCom students, commerce students. It is used for students that are specifically, this is not their main sort of, they're not commerce students and they come they come from another direction. So the bachelor or the bachelor program that SACAP has, which is a Bachelor of Business Management, is specifically sort of designed to give students a different approach into management as opposed to doing a BCom through UNISA or to Varsity College or at UCT. Just to give you a bit of a sense in terms of the approach and the teaching philosophy of it. But economics is entirely necessary. If you're doing business management, you need to understand economics, just the fundamentals. And this is very much a course about fundamentals. So the first, please copy this table into your assignment document, and you're going to, you're just going to have to insert the table. And I see they've got another few folks joining us. You've got a table. You just have to create this table in your Word document, and it asks the question. Classify it. Is it microeconomic or is it macroeconomic? Forest or tree? Forest or tree? And what are the key decision makers and the behavioral factors that influences that? So what I've done is I've given you a brief sort of overview in this week's notes that you can have a look at on how to answer this question. And if you do have any questions, please do drop me an email if you unsure about how to answer it. It is one word answers. There's an answer there, micro or macro. So you can say micro, macro, the decision makers, and then the behavioral factors to consider. And then questions, so that's question one. Any questions or comments on question one? Let me just pause there for a moment. Please use your sound. You can jump on and ask a question or jump in and just make a comment. Right. Clear. Okay. Let's move on to question two, which is about cost, opportunity cost and decision analysis. Now, last week's session, right at the beginning, I did apologize to folks about the fact that last week's session has not been uploaded yet. I had an issue with converting the file to an MP3, MP4 file that I downloaded from Teams. That has now, I'm using a Mac, and there seems to be some issue with the conversion, but that now has been sorted out, and I will be uploading that video tonight. And also this video, I think it takes a few hours for Teams to create a recording after the session finished. And then I'll upload this as well for you to have a look at. So it talks about Bonolo, which has an opportunity to go to university, and there is this whole understanding of opportunity cost and decision analysis. And opportunity cost is really, it is not just the cost of the studies, it's just not the cost of study fees, transport, food, residence fees, but it's also the cost of the things that they're not getting. And this is the whole thing about opportunity cost analysis and understanding that you have to forego certain things. Economics is about making decisions. If you make a decision to go to university, then it's going to cost you. But then also there is the opportunity that you will forego of not going to university. Option B is she doesn't go to university. Let's call Bonolo or she doesn't go to university. She earns a salary and then annual home accommodation costs, immediate income, and all of those things. Option C starts an online business with annual income, etc., uncertain monthly income, so it varies. And the question is, calculate the cost, the opportunity cost for each. Consider both the explicit cost and the implicit cost. The explicit costs are those things that they will pay for, that you can see. The implicit cost are those things that you will lose or forego if you don't if you have made a different decision. So if you add the implicit and the explicit cost, that is the real cost. Bonolo will not only have to pay the university fees, accommodation, all of those things, but also if you add in the potential earnings of having a job to that, then the real cost is not just the explicit cost, but also the implicit cost, the cost of foregoing the decision not to go and work. Evaluate which option provides the best long-term value. Now, for long-term value, the question is how long is long-term? I would say use a 10-year span. So use a 10-year span. And in this question, and I want to be clear here, in this question, in addition to using a 10-year span, also I want to see a bit of, not creativity, I want to see a bit of application, a bit of thinking beyond just the question. Think of if they go to university, what will the income be with a degree over time? 4 years of university with the honors, or 3 years of university, bachelor's, going to the job market, start off low, but then the increase, and as they get promoted, will be a lot steeper over the period. Whereas if you don't have a degree, what will your chance of promotion and income increasing will be a lot shallower. Now that's making a few assumptions. And if you're going to make those assumptions, just make it clear in the way you answer the question. Just say that Bonolo is going to be studying 4 years, going to be studying and you can go as creative as possible. You can say 4 years engineering degree, and it's once they qualify as engineer, the income is going to go like this. Or they're going to do a commerce degree, and maybe the income isn't doing this, but the income is maybe doing this, a lot shallower. Or they're maybe doing an arts degree. Let's not make assumptions, but just make the assumptions clear. Just make the assumptions clear and work on a 10-year time frame. Is that clear? Can I just have a thumbs up so that you guys can understand what I'm looking for? This is the place where I'm looking for a bit of, I won't say creativity, but just a bit of application, just a bit of thinking past just the question. Yes, good. Analyze how individual factors such as risk tolerance, family pressure, peer influence might affect the decision. And this is almost what I want you to reflect on your own personal experience. For some of you, you are a bit older, which meant that you, Gerard, I see your hand. Some of you are a bit older or a bit more mature, let me just say that. which meant that you forgo or you made a decision earlier in life not to go and study, and now you study. And I want you to reflect on that. To reflect on, if you were in Bonolo's situation, what decision would you have made? Would you still have made the decision not to go and study and go and work and then study later on, knowing what you know now? Or would you still have continued making the decision that you have? It's a good reflective question. Yes, Gerard, you've got a question. You had your hand up?
Yes, sorry. I just want to make sure that I understand correctly regarding the implicit costs. Should we only work from the options that was given, option A, B, and C?
Yes. Because what that would do is that would give us, or else, I mean, if you're not going to work on those costs, then everybody's going to come up with their own numbers. So you're going to say that if I work on option A and she forgoes a boutique job, then these are the numbers. If I go with option B, choosing a boutique job versus a online business, this is what opportunity cost is, etc. So use those numbers that are provided, because or else we will have chaos.
Yes, but if we choose if she chooses option A, she forgoes option B and C.
She forgoes option B and C. Yes,
if we don't. Okay.
You can then say she had an opportunity to get a boutique job, but she chose to go to university. Or she had an opportunity to start an online business with all of the risk that goes with it, uncertainty, but she chose to go to university. As long as you just make it clear as to how you're doing the calculations. Make sense?
Okay. Yes. I prefer the constraints. That's why I'm asking.
Yeah. Absolutely. Great. That's a good question. And then C, I don't see any other hands. And then C, analyze. Okay, as I said, for C, it's a bit of a personal reflection. It's a bit of a almost like, what would you have done? So I can only see initials. There was a DM just now that had a hand up. If I can make this. There was a hand up now. Anyone else?
I believe that was Divan. He asked the question in the chat.
All right. Okay. Divan, what's the question in the chat?
Sorry, I must have accidentally put the microphone. So I ended the call accidentally. I wanted to ask on the question, do we have to choose either option A, B, or C, and then give the costs of the ones we didn't choose, or do we have to give, if she chooses A, this will be the cost, if she chooses B, this will be the cost, and so forth for C?
That is correct. So for each one, what will be the cost? So you say, if you choose A, then there's these other two options that you could have chosen. And then if you choose B, there's these other two options that you could have chosen. And if you choose C, there's these other options that you could have chosen. Make sense?
Okay, perfect. Yes, that makes sense. And in the chat box, I asked about the referencing. If I'm not too clear on how to do the referencing when answering these questions.
That is a very good question. So I was going to come to that, but let's tackle it now. So I teach accounting and finance as well on the other side, and I can tell you it's a bit of a nightmare. However, it is about whenever think of it this way, whenever you say something that's not yours. So these numbers are these numbers are part of the question. So you don't need to reference module guide, SACAP 2026. No, you don't need to do that. But where there is a definition, so you say, you'll say opportunity cost is calculated in the following way. According to Moore, it's calculated in the following way. Blah blah blah. Now that's a little reference. It's 2, 3, maybe 1 or 2 sentences. You can reference that. You don't need to do that. But the rule of thumb is whenever there's a bit of writing where there's definition or you bring in a bit of theory, then you reference. For everything else, there's no need. I don't want you to reference the module guide. Please don't. or Theo Walcott 2026 said in our online session 24 February. No, it's fine. I'm okay with that.
Okay, and then just one question on the table. You said we should copy the table into the assignment.
Yeah.
When we turn it in, that'll give us a high
of course it
percentage.
Yes. Yes, it will.
Okay.
Yes, it will.
That'll be okay with you then, obviously.
Yeah, absolutely. And when you check your Turnitin report, you'll be able to see, and this is where you just need to use your own sort of common sense and look at it and go, no, okay, well, the table is from the module guide, so that's okay. But if there's a whole bunch of text that suddenly comes up as red, because that's what Turnitin does, then okay, maybe I need to rephrase this a bit before I do my final submission.
Okay, perfect. I just wanted to get clarity on all of that. Thank you, sir.
Okay. No problem, Gerard. You've got another question? You've got your hand up? All right. Just jump in whenever you're ready.
Oh,
right.
I apologize. My mic was muted. It's just to add to Devon's. If we, for instance, state an assumption and I base it on something else, that's also something I would reference there.
Absolutely. You'll say based on Stats SA salary increase, of 4%, for office workers or for people working as managers, something like that. Especially if you're going to build in some assumptions for question B, where you need to clearly state, over a 10-year period, which option would provide the best. There you're going to have to make some assumptions and sort of back up some of those assumptions with some sort of data. And that's what I'm looking for. I'm looking for some sort of data, especially Stats SA data or some sort of research to indicate why you're saying that their salary will increase by 5% or their salary will increase by 10 or 15% over 5 years, compounded, yeah.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Okay, awesome. Then we come to the interesting question out of this whole submission, which is the production possibilities in international trade, which again, for some of you might look at it and go, this is fairly straightforward. For others, you might look at it and go, a bit more challenging. There's numbers and there's tables and there's all kinds of things. So let's work through it together very quickly. I think Ngozi Farms in Eastern Cape has received advice about crop diversification. His family farm can produce sunflowers for export or potatoes, local pick and place supply. So there's already a decision. He can either produce sunflowers for export or potatoes for local supply, for local demand, local consumption. So there's a decision that needs to be made between sunflowers and potatoes. Then you've got some numbers: production possibility A, production possibility B, C, D, E, and F. So what is the question? The question is create an Excel spreadsheet calculating the opportunity cost for each of the possibilities. So you're going to have to create that Excel spreadsheet. As I said, the video that's included in this week's readings is a very good video. You can just follow it step by step. You capture all of these numbers into your Excel spreadsheet, and you just follow those steps: how to create a graph and how to create a opportunity curve. So it says construct a production possibility curve using Excel. What I'll do is I will actually give you a link to a video that shows you step by step how to do this specific one, because the video that's included in this week is a supply and demand curve, but I'll find one for you exactly gives you step by step how to use Excel for this. Let me just pause there a bit. These sort of working in Excel and working with the numbers, they're good sort of grounding. They're good sort of foundation for you to get comfortable with sort of manipulating numbers and using graphs. I mean, in a work situation, you won't ever, except for maybe price elasticity, you won't ever be asked by your boss to please create for me, do a presentation for me on supply and demand curve, and these are the scenarios. That's not going to happen ever. But what it does do for you, it gives you understanding of when prices go up. Our fuel prices has gone up tonight. Supply and demand. Why? Because of macro factors that's outside of our control, geopolitical factors outside of our control, which have pushed up the price of oil. The price of oil has gone up by more than 15% over the last 24, 48 hours. And that will have a direct impact on us. The question is how, what type of impact is it going to have? And what's it going to do to the bigger economy, etc., etc. So a lot of these questions, especially the first part of this course, which is the micro part of it, sort of go into a bit of minutia, micro, get it? Goes into a bit of the weeds of things, and none of it really, you're gonna, I mean, it's like algebraic equations that you did in grade 11 and 12, you're not going to do them again. But what it does do for you is have a bit of understanding of how things interact. And if you push this lever, this thing happens. If you push this thing, press this button, this happens. Back to decisions. So construct. So the first thing is capture all of them with production possibility. So that's step 1. Step 2, construct a production possibility curve using Excel. Step 2. Then step 3, analyze the comparative advantage implications of the EU market offers 8,000 Rand per ton for sunflowers, while a local market offers 4,500 per ton for potatoes. They have to make a decision. Do I produce more sunflowers for export, or do I produce more potatoes? Because there is something else that's also in that decision, which is the labor cost is significantly higher for sunflowers versus potatoes. And then finally evaluate our exchange rate fluctuations, Rand weakening by 10%, so it actually gives you against the euro with effect. That can cause this optimal production. So that 8,000 Rand goes from 8,000 less 10%. So now that the prices come down, the Rand weakening, it's the other way around. Now that the price have gone up, do you guys understand what I mean by that? It's the other way around. It means that the Rand is weakening, which means that you get more Rands for your euro, which means that this 8,000 Rand per ton price increases in Rand terms because the Rand is weakening against the euro. So it increases by 10%. So it goes from 8,000 to 8,800. Will that impact a decision in terms of to find the optimal decision? So the optimal decision is to maximize income by planting both, or maybe just one, depending on which one or which combination of the two. Now, there's other things as well, which the question doesn't allow in. Things like increased productivity, increased decrease in labor rate, technology, possibly a new machine that can harvest twice as quickly, that reduces the labor rate significantly. So it doesn't make any of those, it doesn't throw in any of those things, especially those major things like technology that can have an impact. Increase productivity, because the more you do it, the better you do it, the faster you do it. a reduced labor rate. Possibly the government may then make a new piece of legislation and the labor rate goes down per hour rather than going up. There might be other cost, input cost as well, which is things like fertilizer, things like seed, things like electricity, things like fuel. So you don't get any of those things, and obviously all of those things will have a direct impact on this decision that they have to make, but it's not in there. So you just have to work with the information that you have, which is labor cost, exchange rate, price. That's what you have, which does make it a bit simpler and a bit more straightforward in terms of what is needed for this submission. So to recap, Word document, open up your spreadsheet, do all of your calculations, all of your capturing in a spreadsheet, copy your tables and your graphs into your Word document as images. Once you've finished with your Word document, you convert that Word document into a PDF, and then you submit that PDF as your final submission. Right, let me pause there. Are there any questions regarding the first submission? Yes? Eva? You got your hand up?
Okay, so I just wanted to know, with regards to the spreadsheet, like the last question, do we have to do it as an image, or if we create it as a link and then put it at the end of our Word document, would that be okay, or?
I don't know. When you submit it as a PDF document, will the links still work?
Okay, so previously that is how I've done it. So it turns blue, and then when you click it, it opens to the spreadsheet because you save it as a PDF. So I'm not too sure. I can try to do the image thingy as well, and then do both, and then see if it works. Is that
Please do. Please. Yeah, no, absolutely, absolutely. And if you want to include the link to the spreadsheet, okay. I'm just not. Except, I suppose, if you upload the spreadsheet as well, I'm just not sure how will I access your spreadsheet that's sitting on your computer via link.
Okay. Okay, I can try the image thingy. I haven't tried it before, but I will try it. I will YouTube it and try to figure out how that works. So that's fine.
You in Excel, you just select the area that you want to copy. You right-click your copy. You
yes.
Move over into Word. And you just right click and you just go paste as image, and it will paste it as an image.
As the image. Okay, perfect. Thank you.
As a picture. So it will paste it as a picture inside of your Word document.
Okay, perfect.
And then obviously you can play around with the layout, in which you can align it to the text, or you can sit it around the text, but mostly align it with the text so that there's text above and text below. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
All right. Excellent. Yeah, I've got another question. Yeah. I'll go first, Harald. You got your hand up.
Apologies, my signal dropped a bit. Yeah, it's regarding what you've now, I hope I'm saying that correctly, was saying, if you add the link in PDF, the hyperlink does work, but you need to be sure to share your Excel document in the share button with anyone that has the link. Then when you press on the hyperlink, it will go to the cloud version of it and open it up.
Okay. Oh, yes. Oh, you mean on OneDrive? Yes.
Yes.
So you will have to then save it in your SACAP OneDrive, because I've also got the SACAP email address. So you just have to make sure it's in your OneDrive or a OneDrive. It can be your own personal OneDrive as well. Yes. I know that. Yes, absolutely.
Perfect.
Good. Thank you very much. All right. Let me, I think I'm going to leave it there for this evening because we've gone through the first assessment. What I'll do is I'll do a short recording on this week's work and also post some additional content just to work through it. Again, just a word of caution, don't get too deep into the whole supply and demand curves and all of those things, because they are important. It's about understanding rather than trying to recall off by heart, this is what it is, etc., etc. Get stuck into this. As soon as you get stuck into this, please start focusing on a problem set. Again, please, because this one now shifts to macro. It looks at exchange rate. It looks at substitute complementary goods analysis, which is demand and supply curve, exchange rates, policy valuation, and then market equilibrium supply analysis, which is a nice question. And then international trade and trade exchanges as well, which is also a nice question. But market equilibrium is a good question. So there are, as I said, there's quite a few of these open book tests, and you're going to be hit with them coming at you non-stop. There's 3, which is in session 5. There's 4, which is in session 6. And that's all of them. And then there is your the essay for session 10. So you've got the 4 assessments, which is 40 marks, 10, 10, 10, 10. And then your final essay, which is 40. And then your module engagement. So just to reiterate again, the module engagement consists of, there will be about 8, I think about 8. I see your hand, I'll be with you shortly. The module engagement consists of about 8 quizzes. You have to complete only out of that 8, only 5 out of the 8. Please, actually no, let's make it 4. That's 50%. You only need to complete 4 out of the 8. You can complete all of them. You can complete more than 4. You can complete 6 and 7 and 8, as long as the minimum is achieved, which is 4. There's already 2 of them available. Last week's one and this week's one is available for you. There's about 50 multiple choice questions. You've got 60 minutes to do them in. You get 2 opportunities to pass, and they're all due by the end of session 10. Please don't leave them for the last week. Try to do them as quickly as you can. As I said, they take 10, 15 minutes to do, but it does assume, it does ask you and require you to have done a bit of reading before the time. So in the instructions, you'll see the multiple choice questions will come out of certain readings. So make sure that you've got that reading open. Make sure you've got it handy. So when you tackle the questions, that you've done a bit of the reading so that you will be able to answer those questions. You've got a question. Yeah, just give me a shout. You've got a question. All right. No problem. Great stuff. Guys, thank you very much, all of you. Thank you very much for jumping in. Divan, okay, no problem, Divan. I saw you noted that earlier. Thank you very much, everyone, for logging in. Thank you very much for your good questions. And next week, I will also spend a bit of time on the assessment. The following week, also on the assessment, and the following also on the assessment. So as we're doing these assessments, please come prepared, having looked at the assessment and ask specific questions. This course is one of those that requires you to just knuckle down, just work each week. There's no getting away from it. There's no escaping it. I must tell you though, and I must sort of give you a bit of not optimism, but a bit of encouragement, is that the way we've designed the assessments are really, really good. There's none of this sort of studying a textbook this thick and regurgitating the stuff in an exam situation. Because personally, just coming from a person that has been in these trenches for the last 14 years, teaching and then asking you to regurgitate things is not learning. That is just testing your ability to remember stuff. And that's not learning anything. And SACAP has really tried to move away from just simple testing for the sake of testing or assessing for the sake of assessing through regurgitation, through these exams, and sitting in an exam room for 2 hours after studying the night before 12 chapters and trying to remember and squish it into your head. So the assessments are really being done to test application, to test your understanding, to test your knowledge, and in so sort of leave you with, hopefully at the end of this sort of doing microeconomics, sort of leaving with it, not hating economics. Because whatsoever, trust me, I've been teaching this at BCom level and full-time students, and they hate economics because it has such a high failure rate. More than 50% of people fail it. And they end up hating it. It becomes their math, So hopefully at the end of these sessions, you won't hate economics. You'll go like, oh, that makes sense. Oh, that's cool. And I hope that I can make it come alive for you in that respect. So anybody, thank you very much for your time this evening. Have a good time, have a good evening further, and I will connect with all of you again next week. Cheers.